The plot of Feud Season 2 centers on the corrupt socialites who betrayed their friend, renowned author Truman Capote, by disclosing their way of life in writing. The second season of Feud, subtitled Capote vs. the Swans, will tell the story of the rift between acclaimed author Truman Capote and his circle of high society friends, referred to as Swans, whose debauched antics were exposed in Capote's unfinished novel Answered Prayers. The first season focused on the rivalry between Hollywood starlets Joan Crawford and Bette Davis during the making of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. However, what actually transpired between Capote and his pals, the aforementioned Swans? The season's star-studded ensemble cast include movie icons including Diane Lane as Slim Keith, Jessica as Katharine Graham, Naomi Watts as Babe Paley, and Molly Ringwald as Joanne Carson. Leading the way is Tom Hollander as Capote himself. February 31, 2024 saw the beginning of Feud Season 2, which was based on Lawrence Leamer's best-selling book Capote's Women, a true story of love, betrayal, and a swan song for an era. Although Capote's acrimonious rivalry with the Swans is romanticized in the season, what actually transpired? What made the writer decide to ruin his closest friendships? On January 5, 1966, Capote inked a deal with Random House to publish a book titled Answered Prayers. The book was originally intended to be a modern American retelling of Marcel Proust's In Search of Lost Time, which follows a narrator as they navigate French high society in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Inspired by his own experiences hanging around rich socialites in New York City, Capote would write a Roman à clef story chronicling the wicked antics of America's high society. Capote received a $25,000 advance from Random House, and the terms of the contract required that the finished work be produced by January 1, 1968. Capote declared that Answered Prayers would be his greatest work when he started writing it. But by the time he died in 1984, Capote had not finished the book, even though he had been granted until 1968. Capote negotiated a higher advance for a later deadline after missing his first one. This pattern kept happening until he signed a $1 million contract for a deadline of March 1, 1981, which he'd also missed. Over time, shorter works, a few TV shows, and the surprising success of In Cold Blood diverted Capote's attention. Capote chose to publish a few chapters of Answered Prayers in magazines after missing his initial round of deadlines in order to show Random House that he was still working on the book. The first published chapter, Mojave, was published in the June 1975 issue of Esquire. However, Le Code Basque 1965, which was published in the November 1975 issue of Esquire, attracted the most attention. Although readers enjoyed Mojave and Tennessee Williams even complimented Capote, Le Code Basque 1965 turned out to be so divisive that it ultimately proved to be Capote's downfall. Le Code Basque 1965, which is set in a real French restaurant in New York City, follows P.B. Jones, the narrator of the book, as he meets with Lady in a Coolberth to gossip about their high society friends. A string of shocking, blatantly obvious revelations regarding all of Capote's wealthy, influential friends transpired next. Even if he gave them all new names, it was still clear who he was writing about. Slim Keith was a stand-in for Lady Coolberth. Capote contested this allegation, but even Keith believed she was the inspiration for the persona. The portrayal of Cleo Dillon and her unfaithful husband Sidney, along with all of William's infidelity, was done by Babe Paley and her immoral husband William. The chapter's most well-known section is a fictitious account of a true murder case. William Woodward, a businessman, was shot in their home in 1955 by his wife Anne. Anne said she thought her husband was an intruder, but there was a rumor that she killed him on purpose. Using that hypothesis as a springboard, Capote had his character David Hopkins killed by his wife. Capote didn't even alter the wife's name, and is the murderer's name in the narrative. Anne committed suicide just before the chapter was released. Although no explanation was provided, some people assumed Woodward's mother was aware of Capote's narrative beforehand. Capote's high society social circle was severed as soon as Le Code Basque 1965 appeared in Esquire, and all of his wealthy acquaintances abandoned him. Rumor monger Liz Smith claims that hate speech against Truman Capote was instantly rampant in New York's high society conversations, with some even demanding retaliation. Keith was among the socialite pals of Capote, who declined to communicate with him in the future. It was said that Capote was especially distressed about parting ways with Paley. According to one account, Capote was sobbing in his home after his buddies broke up with him. He was not prepared for such a strong reaction. "I didn't mean to. I thought they would return." Capote chose to reveal his friend's darkest secrets through thinly veiled fiction, even if he didn't anticipate being cut off by them. Why, even unknowingly, did he destroy his closest friendships and set the most influential individuals in New York against him? Psychotherapist Carolyn Mayer claims that Capote first desired acceptance when he started hanging out with the wealthy socialites of New York City. However, she thought that as time passed and he grew closer to these extremely wealthy people, he began to grow resentful of the elite society he had managed to enter. Mayer thinks that one of the reasons Capote was such a good gossip was his amazing memory for details of entire talks. Capote felt compelled to record and expose the ugliness of those who pestered him for sensational gossip about their closest pals. Mayer hypothesizes that as Capote's mental health declined, so did his opinion of those around him. An unfinished draft of Answered Prayers was released by Random House in the UK in 1986 and the US in 1987. But the whole manuscript has never been located and may never have existed. Maybe the second season of Feud will solve some of the unanswered questions about this book.